Oops. Yep.
There you go.
There we go, on hand here. Alright. Hello, everybody. Hello, buddy. This is episode 54 of Shoot the Breeze, a chill interview and chill time all around for you and me. I'm your host, HeavyDivider. Alongside me here is a very quiet but gentle person. As a matter of fact, on Hades, he's also quite witty too when you least expect it, because he'll catch you off guard, like at certain points on hand, especially from what I've known on hand. But my guest for tonight is one JourneyCraft, or as we call him, Journey. Welcome on, Journey.
Hi, hello there.
Yeah, hi, hello there. Hope everything's going all right with you.
Yes, everything went going good.
Okay, so let me ask this question on hand here before we get going. First question I want to ask is, how the hell did we meet?
Oh, I was trying to think, like exactly when. I know we've known each other at least 2 years now.
Mm-hmm. Actually, almost 3 years.
Because it was...
Coming up on 3 years.
Yeah, it was right about the time when you were in the middle of your high. Because I believe I met you through Chaotic.
Actually, I can correct you on that. It wasn't just Chaotic I met you through. I met you through Arnie.
Arnie, that's right.
I met you through Arnie. Long story short, basically, it was because, once again, I was part of CC's community on hand, and at that time or so, I didn't get a chance to get to know a few people. I knew Arnie, and I thought, well, you know what, I'll come in and basically go see Arnie, see how he's doing. Through that encounter, I met you, Langle, Chaotic, and then basically, like, later on or so, through you, I met Nate. So basically it was kind of like intertwined for just one person's meaning into a little bit of other stuff here and there. So. Yeah,
everything kind of started through that one meaning, and the rest was history.
Yep, you'd be right. That's exactly what it was. And pretty much past that or so, as we kind of go further and further in, for VR High, I met Earth, Zeshin, a few other people on hand too, and then basically further and further down the line or so, basically, well, we've come across some different people here and there, but for the most part, we've had like this weird tight bond together, so we've kind of stuck around for quite a while. So there's that.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, let me ask about your streaming origins on hand. Now, I know you streamed on hand at one point or another, but I was gonna ask, what kind of got you into streaming?
I would have to say that streaming was more first in terms of a curiosity.
Curiosity? Alright.
Because I've seen people do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I started out... Is that... You know how I work around in chat, right? Yeah. I basically started out the same way. And... what I would do is I would use, like, BBTV, and I would move myself from the chat session from the chat entirely.
Mm-hmm.
There's a setting where you can do that and just move yourself from the viewer list, where you can't even chat. You can just watch, and it would still count on the viewer counter. That was 3 years ago.
Okay, I gotcha.
But more and more when as I start watching people, I kind of started to wonder, well, if they can do it, I can probably do it in more of a janky fashion, because, as you probably know, my sort of equipment, kind of, at the beginning was faulty.
No, that's understandable.
It was kind of crap. But I still soldiered on, because I'm naive about that. And it kind of started from there. Just trying to bumble my way into him in all sorts of nonsense. And it kind of spun off there with some major robots play.
Mm-hmm. I got you. I will say on hand, I understand the whole idea of just like soldiering through, like especially like working with what you got and just seeing where it goes or so. Especially just be able to like keep working with what you can, and then once you get something better on hand, basically it'll become a little bit better as time goes by or so. So I get that. I get that thought process on hand here, especially with that. Let me ask about your hobbies on hand besides like, well, VRC in general or so. So I know you video edit at certain points here and there. I also know.
Yes.
I also know that at certain times or so when we get a chance to basically play games together, we also play like on, especially on game nights, like in my community, basically like Grand Theft Auto and such. But what other hobbies on hand do you have besides those or so, or if there's any one of those you want to explain in more in depth with?
Well, I can explain video editing a little more. Cause the whole way I go through clipping stuff on some streams, right? And then I had the idea of like making videos essentially just to mock somebody who have either done a fault or failed miserably or said something that they would seem entirely regrettable. Hey.
Yep. Good lord.
No, but I guess I sort of gain a sort of a philosophy, and you might know this one, I'm not sure, but it's basically like, I'm trying to think of theory here. It was basically like the theory of laughter.
Theory of laughter.
So it's basically the idea of laughter as a social sanction against inflexible behavior.
Okay.
So whenever Nate does something stupid, and then I get the idea of like making a video to basically say, hey, you did something stupid again. Boofy. It's basically a way to just like get people to laugh at him for at least 5 to 10 minutes, and just like go on with their day.
No, I get you.
It basically sticks with people.
Doesn't help
like all the clip compilations that I've done, like for him and certain people. That's the whole idea. It is like putting stuff together and say, those are like the lowlights of their streaming career and stuff like that.
No, I got you. I mean, put it this way, it's kind of funny too because sometimes like people repeat the exact same thing and then kind of forgot about it until it's like, here, let me remind you a little bit.
Yeah, and some people know, but some people don't. I usually archive all the clips and like video photos of everything that I've done. So if ever I need to like go back on something, I'm like, oh well, I can just bring that one back and such. That's how I get a sound pad of like everything that Nate and Rosie ever said. So that's just like a certain reminder.
Okay, I got you. Oh yeah, I know for a fact about that just because there's certain things that basically they want to forget about, but you would like to remind them on hand with it. So there's that.
Whatever they like to or not.
Yeah, whether they like to or not. So
that's the idea.
What game was okay? Let me ask you this: what was the game that basically was your intro to like gaming in general, or so? Or just kind of like, say, what would be your first game that kind of got you into like just gaming altogether?
Oh, game was actually Over the Hedge, Hammy Goes Nuts on the Game Boy Advance ST. I swear to God.
All I'm gonna say.
I got that game when I got.
Go ahead.
It was a part when I got the console as like a Christmas gift, like 15 years ago. And it was basically the start of it, and I think I played on it for like 6 hours straight. And basically since, like, there was not really an easy way to have, like, headphone connectivity or just, like, isolate the sound, I had to basically play with, like, no sound, playing it on the bed, like, at 2 in the morning.
Mm-hmm. I gotcha. I was gonna say, for the most part on hand, that it's still... I'm gonna say, that's kind of like a very oddly specific game that your parents would give you at a young age, just saying. Unless that was actually, like, one of your favorite movies.
Okay, to be fair, they picked that one out of random.
Okay, that's fair. That's perfectly fine.
Besides, the game that my grandparents gave me when I got, like, the PlayStation 2, like, 2 years later, was Sonic Unleashed.
Okay. Well, hey, I mean, that's not a bad game or so. What console? What did they give you?
PS2.
Oh. I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
So, it was a rocky start, I guess.
Yeah, rocky start.
Yes, it's like, I was sort of, like, casually in it. It wasn't until, like, Portal 2 came along when I was really, like, entangled to it. And that's how I got, like, my Steam account, by the way. It's like, I got the PS3 version of it. It allows you to create, like, a Steam account of sorts, and it had, like, a code that you, like, put over just to get the PC version. Okay. And then I had to get, like, a different account later, and I had to rebought the game and, like, put, like, 200 more hours on it.
No, I got you. All I gotta say on hand is,
So
hey... All I gotta say is, hey, rocky start, but hey, it got a little bit better, so there's that.
Yeah, it's got way better since, but it was a rocky start.
That's fair. That's totally fair on hand for that. Let me talk about the VRChat scene on here. Now, in this current present that we live in right now, at this current time that we are at, what is your current opinion of VRC in general?
Currently, I love and hate VRChat at the same time.
Kind of a neutral, kind of like in the middle on that one.
Because it's like, how can I explain it? I sort of have a feeling like every time VRChat makes an update, and it's like, oh my god, what are they doing now? So and like, I'm scared that they would, fuck something up, and because they usually do, you know how it goes. And sometimes they make like boneheaded decisions that kind of completely blows up your mind. But at the same time, I have to give the game credit, because if I didn't like find the game in the first place, there would be a high chance that I would not be here.
No, that's fair. That's totally fair.
Like, in the sense that I wouldn't have found, like, you or, like, 3/4 of the friends that I have now. Yeah, because I've been involved in so many communities within one game. And it was all because of that one game. So it's like, I hate the direction. I don't really like the developers, really. But I have to thank the game by default for at least existing.
That's fair.
And giving me the opportunities that I have now.
No, that's perfectly fair. Because put it this way, all it takes is one encounter on hand that's just going to change your life, and bam, it's just like you're stuck with people you didn't think you'd be with for quite some time.
Yeah.
So
So that's how it's really been recently. It's like that Eureka moment in your mind.
no, I know. I mean, hey, like I said, things like that just happens all of a sudden, especially for what you can want to work with here and there. So, especially just like games in general, when it just does that here and there. But let me talk about the streaming scene in general. Now, again, I know you have streamed on hand here and there, for the most part, but let me ask about your opinion on streaming for yourself here. Like, what's the overall feeling when it comes to streaming, or basically, as somebody who has streamed here and there, like, what is your experience that you can share with it? Be it personal or just kind of like as time goes by with it.
Well, I put in the context of since I came back, because it would be more fresh in my mind.
No, go ahead. It's all good.
Because after you've taken like a break for like 16 months, so when you came back to it, you kind of want to do it right by yourself to make sure that everything would be mostly in order. It's like you don't want to put yourself back to the way it was. You kind of want to change things around a little bit. The problems that I've been having recently is that I can't make a schedule worth a damn to be as consistent. Usually I would have to find like a time that I know I would be available, and I would have to know, like, because I don't have like any specific games, because beforehand, because of the lack of equipment and horsepower, let's say, I was only really able to stream like a few games. And I stream about VRChat when around like 20 frames per second if I had like more than 5 people.
No, I got you.
So that because it wasn't cooperating as I would have liked. But I've got it to the point where it's at least a little bit doable. So I wouldn't have to worry about, oh, will this game work, or like, no, I can be at least a little bit more confident in what I'm presenting. So all that I would have to do is just be myself and be a complete another dummy to the viewing audience.
I got you on hand. I will say, too, for the longest period of time when I got a chance to know you before you started finally to speak or so, you were mostly mute. And I was going to ask, what is that life like? Just being mute for the most part? Or just not be able to, like, communicate in different ways, but just can't do it through words?
Yeah. I'm going to explain this under context for those who are not familiar or haven't played VRChat much. VRChat doesn't have really a text mode of sorts. You would have to pick like rules specifically in order to have like that little keyboard with the display so you can actually type stuff in. Before I started speaking, it was mostly through Discord DM, as you would know.
Yeah, I would know that.
As my preferred way of communicating. But it would sometimes be awkward, because it's like, what I would have to do to get somebody's attention is to send somebody DM, and then depending on the latency and like time from the time they would actually receive the message, to be about them looking through their thing, their overlay, and looking at it. Like when I was RPing with Nate in the early days, when I was nude, I essentially test RP'd with him. So, like, I was speaking in first person, like normally, but in third person, you know, with some in speak.
No, I got you.
Like, being mute was a little bit awkward. Because you never know how people would have reacted and such. Like, the only way I would really make any sound was with Thumbpad, like, later on. Beforehand, it was even more awkward, where there was no real way for me to, like, emit sound or anything. It was just to emote.
Just for yeah, for some of the emotes that you have on hand for, like, VRC or so.
Yeah, like, it was awkward, but at a time where I wasn't comfortable with my own voice,
Mm-hmm.
and actually speaking to a microphone, the awkwardness was a lot better than speaking at the time. And for me to actually gain, like, the confidence to actually speak more full time, I had to, like, regain the confidence, because before I met you, I was trying to speak, like, full time, but then I suddenly, for some reason, stopped talking and became a full mute again. But then since last December, I've finally gotten to the point where I can talk regularly.
I'm guessing it's because it just kind of overwhelmed you, where you just didn't want to speak at certain points, or just not at all?
It was mostly that, but it was also busy with an opportunity. Is that because this also relates to the RP in some way as well. Because I was setting up the whole thing with Nate and how Journey in the RP perspective was getting his voice through a voice modulator, and it kind of sounded like Alex, because it was basically like a carbon copy.
I got you.
So it was partially like me trying to gain the confidence to actually speak, like, more than 2 sentences. And it was partially like an RP opportunity to branch my character even further.
What I've noticed on hand
Have
too,
more creativity.
which I'll point this out to you as an observation. What I've noticed on hand too, even if there wasn't a topic you didn't want to talk about here and there, so if there was something that stuck out, like in a regular conversation that me and somebody else could have or so, there would be something that would stick out to you. You'd be very witty to say something on hand to where we could hear it on hand. Like, it's a moment where I feel like it's kind of like somebody's personality brushed off on you, where if you sense something on hand, you'll actually have the confidence to say what it is or so, which I think that also helped you out in the long run to be able to, like, you know, speak, especially in RPs.
Yeah, like in terms of RPs, we'll just, like, wing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to, like, gauge the whole thing, and then based on the opportunities, like, well, I can start something like there. I can actually branch off, like, properly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, your observation's correct. Because it's like, these days don't usually, when I find something wrong, it's like, hey, hold it up here. Something's not right with this. Something's not right with that, or...
Yeah, and plus you always have, like, the reactions on it too. Like, your reactions sometimes, even if you didn't have, like, a witty comment, sometimes your reactions can also be heard or so. Like, I could say something stupid, and your reaction would basically just either be a sigh or basically, oh, god damn it. Something along those lines.
Yeah.
Because it's a normal reaction,
but it's like, oh my god, not again.
But it got you opened up. But it got you opened up to be able to say something. So there's that too. There's that too.
Yeah.
that too on
I
hand.
can-
That helps out. So, let me ask about a funny moment or memory that will come to your mind. So, when I say a funny moment or like anything memorable that will come to your mind, so what would possibly pop in for the most part?
There was so many that that I can't really pick ones. Like all of them was like right on hand. Like when you encounter something like funny or interesting or just downright cringeworthy,
Mm-hmm.
that like there's nothing that like overcounts that. It's like uh whenever Nate something would says something stupid, it usually is worse than what he said before. Or he outduns himself.
Outdumbs himself. That's a phrase I didn't think of
Yeah.
here.
With Nate, anything can happen. Trust me. But, yeah. There's not really a favorite one, because there's nothing that can differentiate from the other. But, like, they all made me laugh and cringe almost equally.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like whenever you look back, like, as far as I have.
No, I got you.
Yeah.
No, I got you. I mean, the thing is, too, like, no matter what or so, like, I put it this way, even if you don't think about it or so, which I feel like you kind of relate to it, you know, you and Nate are pretty much like brothers to one another.
I consider him as a brother, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Just kind of like that on hand, especially for what you guys do and best try to find ways to mess with each other here and there. So,
Yeah.
So what is your motivation that keeps you going? Especially for whatever direction you want to go, being video editing, being like streaming, being like whatever comes to your mind for what you want to do here and there.
I wouldn't say there's like a tangible thing that could be served as motivation.
Mm-hmm.
These days it's more about the little recurring things that keeps me going, like seeing the same friends like every day, for example. Me improving my RP skills, for example. Does that, voice acting like as we did for Undertale. It's really motivating me to see how long or how far I can go in branching out. Because I guess I have the creativity necessary. It's just A, how exactly to branch out, and B, how to convince somebody or some people that, hey, I'm a thing, I can do some stuff, so that like I'm not just like a walking piece of plank on the driveway. I'm actually worth something in society.
No, I got you.
It's those little things every day, like events or stuff that you look forward to during the given week that, it's like a little pick-me-up. Even during the days where I feel like, oh, they're garbage, at least there's always that flailing thought of like, well, at least there's this to look forward to, or this thing. Like, at least there's that.
Mm-hmm.
And you go on from there. So again, nothing tangible, just the little things to keep me going.
No, I got you. I got you on hand. Little things on hand, but for the most part, it's also basically opening you, pretty much helping you open up on the inside and just be able to, like, show who you really are and just not, like, be closed off for the most part. Because
Yeah, because when I was me, I was closed off for the most part.
Yeah. Actually,
I didn't let myself, like, be myself. Mostly it was just, I was under the guise of being a mute looker who looked small in a boy doll outfits. But no, like, now I'm more than that.
which makes me wonder. I wonder.
So that I'm not.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah, it makes me more than just the avatar itself.
Well, I was about to say, I do wonder if other mutes are like that too, where basically they feel closed off. They want to say something, but they don't know how their own community, their own friends would react or so.
Well, you have to keep in mind that every mute is different. Like, their sort of mindset and how they approach things are different.
That's true.
Because they might come from different backgrounds or different situations where they don't feel like themselves. Like, something might have happened which might have shattered their confidence or their ability to really be themselves. So they hide behind a persona with the express intent of either try to get a little confidence or hide what they're trying to forget.
No, I got you. No, I got you.
Like the one example I would give, Oatmeal just did a voice reveal on their birthday. Like, I don't know Oatmeal personally or what their attitude is and crap like that, but I would have to imagine, like, when you're hiding your voice and like how you act, it could become a mental strain of sorts. Where it's like you kind of wonder what it's like to like remove that limit about yourself and really make yourself more free and open.
Well,
so I can imagine that most mutes would feel like that, either towards my way of doing things back then, or they would have sort of a different way of feeling about it.
I also thought too, with the fact that when it comes to like mutes in general, I also thought about the fact that basically too, that when you're a mute or so, you create like this impression that people think is what you are, but the moment you speak, they basically, whatever impression they have is clearly the wrong way or so. Kind of impressions.
Every single time. Because whatever assumption that they would have is always the wrong one. Like, every time. And sometimes it's not their fault, because over time when they meet somebody, they sort of gain an impression that, oh, they must be like that, I guess. But when they start speaking, it's most times a shock to some. Like, oh, I didn't know they were like that.
No, I understand.
Yeah, so it's, yeah.
No, I understand on hand. So let me ask about, I got some different topics here, but let me ask about the VRChat current present of when you first started like VRC, like in the beginning to where we are now or so. What are some of the things you're glad that they changed compared to some of the things you wish they didn't change at all?
First of all, in retrospect, I wish they didn't change the loading screen.
The loading screen?
Yeah, the old one, I wish they didn't change that. but more like in-game, and I'm sure through your reactions you've noticed this too. VRChat has kind of turned into a high school playground.
Give or take at certain points, depending on where you've gone to. Which is funny you say that because it's a small community. It's supposed to be a small community on hand, but, you know, they've got divided lines up and running. Well, divided lines on who's who, what group.
Because you know how, you know, high school playgrounds work, right? You got the bullies on one end, you got, like, the snobby types on another, you have the nerdy crowds, you have, like, the normal crowd. That's what I kind of feel as if VRChat is now. Because you have, like, your weird side here, your meme side. So there you have your loot side over here. You have your tier 3 subs over here. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I'm aware.
You have the wholesome side on, like, way in the back, which is getting, like, smaller and smaller, like, every day, because it seems like even some that were, like, once wholesome is, like, completely going in the opposite direction when you least expect it.
They gotta try to keep up with the trend of VRC, from the way it seems.
Because it seems like you're just trying to get off the top of the mountain that VRChat explicitly created.
Yeah.
Like, you have some of the streamers up at the top who either they got there through natural means or through means of either being a bad person or that, you know how it's like,
yeah, RP,
they got
just
to the top under, like,
memes.
ridiculous meaning. Yeah. And then when you're trying to go through the top, and then more in a manual way, it feels like you're kind of stuck at times, because it's like, they got this thing over here, you're trying to climb up the ladder, except, it feels like you're encased in stone most of the time, because they have the monopoly, and then you're trying to get people as, like, one at a time, but it always feels as if it takes not only the longest, but it also feels like you have to put more work into it, and it's kind of like you have to force to change who you are just to be at their level.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Like, that's how it created itself. Like, it didn't have to be this way, but it's kind of to the point, like, unless you want to completely change who you are, like, attitude-wise and everything, you're not gonna have a chance in hell of climbing.
Yeah, that's...
Like, you're always gonna be at the bottom.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed on hand, for the most part. Like, to explain this on hand, too, and just for everybody else to know, what Journey pretty much said is pretty much kind of like the bottom line on hand with VRC now, where basically, unless you can, and I've talked about this, like, episode 50, unless you can fake it to make it in VRC to be something that basically captivates an audience to where, to captivate an audience to basically where they're there for a certain thing, but not there for what you are, or so, then basically it's just kind of like, it's the trend for it. Like, literally, people have to fake it just to kind of, like, for certain reasons on hand. Sometimes it's not part of their personality. They just do it just so they can get whatever they want out of it, and then basically, when the time comes or so, at least they had that quick fix on hand for it. At least they could say they had that quick fix, but they don't have like stability. That's the thing. For the most part, when it comes to this entirely, there's no stability to it. Yeah, it'll get you to where you're going, but how you stay up there is up to you, for the most part, which is not stable at all, sadly.
Yeah, besides, was it we've personally been involved in this through no fault of our own to the people we've met.
Yep.
So that I've gone through that like more than a couple times where we've seen people's true colors.
That can happen.
And it's becoming a recurring trend.
That can happen.
Because they act like an original, thoughtful person. But when fame and fortune take you over, and this is not exclusive to VRChat, by the way, this is like for everything.
Anything that involves
just
streaming
when you think
in general.
about it. Yeah, but more towards VRChat these days. When fame and fortune corrupt you in your line of thinking, like, it basically says that I gotta be like this to really increase myself in life. But they forget the one true lesson that I swear to God people keep abandoning. Do not forget where you came from.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do not forget what you started. Like, what were the people, what were, like, the ideas, the memories that got you to where you are? And I feel like people in the express purpose and intention of being famous or popular is just forgetting about what made themselves who they are, and now they follow like these cliche groups and people who look like they mean well, but when you really dig deep into it, it just feeds into what I was talking about earlier, this high school playground mentality of, as you said it yourself, faking it to making it. And it revolves again around when you're trying to grow yourself naturally, it automatically takes longer than it should.
No, I get
really, like, get to where you are.
I got you on hand. I get you. I will say, is there anything you're looking forward towards within VRC, or like any ideas or any plans you got going on for the most part?
In terms of RP in relation to VRChat, like, going through the story of the Mythic Guild, let's just say I got my own plans for the end of the chapter. Let's just say that it involves journey from the alternate universe. And the fact that Journey's world is more expensive than people might think. It's like, I have my own ideas I'm looking forward to and waiting on till the end to really implement. Other than that, in terms of VRChat itself, I don't know. It's like, these days I only really go in the game for hanging out and chilling, RP, and then maybe like testing Avatar when they get like uploaded. That's it.
Yep.
Oh, and maybe world hopping when I'm streaming, but that's like another thing altogether.
No, I got you. I got you on hand.
It's not like it was before.
Yeah, I know. It's just Well, we do our own community thing where basically we just hop around, look at worlds here and there, and just kind of like see what we got all together for the most part. It's mostly because we kind of keep ourselves tight-knit for what we do. Just because it's one of those things where we all relate to one another, and it's just kind of like, you know. And plus, we just relate to each other, so it's just like, you know, there's not really a point to kind of like opening that up a little bit, just because of the fact that of how things have been, or so, it's just kind of like makes it a little bit harder to have people relate to. I mean, we open that up on hand, but sometimes it's kind of like, you know, people are expecting something when in actuality, it's just who we are. So, that's about it. Really.
Yeah, like, what you see is what you get.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I don't come with any more, like, bells and whistles.
Yeah.
That's all you can get out of me.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much just kind of keep that emotion on hand here. Especially for especially for our moral code and basically what we stand for here and there. So there's that too.
Yeah.
So, here's the curveball question I was going to throw at you, because people have like a different answer to this or so, but I will ask you this. Let's talk about anime.
Okay.
So, depending on exactly how formative you are with anime in general or so, this is just like a three-part question, but it all depends on what it is. But, when I say the word anime, what's the first series that comes to your mind?
Violet Evergarden.
Violet Evergarden.
That was like that one anime series that was in that movie world.
Mm-hmm.
So I was watching by myself one time, and I was really enthralled by its story, by its delivery, like how it came to be. So it was actually surprising, like how much I liked it, like how it acted itself. So that was like the one thing when I associate with anime. It's usually like, oh, that Violet Evergarden was pretty good.
I gotcha. I can't remember what Violet Evergarden was about, to be honest with you. It's kind of like one of those mysteries on hands when it comes to it. So, but I'll have to look it up when I can. Second question I have on hand is, if you had a top 3, top 5, like say anime, even if it doesn't have to be in order or so, what would that be?
The thing is, when it comes to anime, like, I'm only really casual in the sense, like, I just watch it just for the sake of watching it, and I don't pay much attention to it other than that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like something that keeps me up at night.
No, I gotcha.
Again, I'll refer to Violet Evergarden as like one of my favorite animes that I can actually remember.
That's fine. No, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, again, it's not like the one thing.
Okay, no, that's all good. We can work with that on hand, especially for what we got. But my third question to that would be like, what would be the anime that hit you close to home? Like you basically emotionally felt it, or just like relate to it more than anything else.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the name of the movie, and you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. A Silent Voice.
Yep, okay, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
I don't need to go into any details for the audience.
You don't need to go into any details.
They know exactly what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. No, you don't need to go into details
I cried like a little baby the first time. Like, God.
That's perfectly fine. That is perfectly fine on hand here. Especially for, you know, what comes to mind with it. Like, you don't need any details for what it is, so it's just kind of like it is what it is. But, this leads me to my final question here. And I'm going to grab this camera and I'm going to bring it over to you here really quickly. And, so I'm trying to get it round up. Okay, there we go. So, for the camera on hand here, what are your goals and dreams? And at best, what is the best advice I can ever get, what you can ever give to anybody? I'll let you have center stage for this.
Okay. In terms of goals and dreams, I'm basically a guy that has low expectations. Basically, whatever I can expect is basically like the bare minimum someone can give me. As long as you respect me or like that sort of respect or courtesy. In terms of dreams, like borrow a quote from like Pokemon, like I want to be the very best, like no one ever was, blah 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 blah. Like there's all like intentional results to it, like however I can get there naturally, like in however time allowed it, like I don't care. In terms of advice, I guess the advice here is like always expect the unexpected. Especially in the friends group that I'm in. What usually happens is something where you never truly know what's going to happen. That's something that will keep you off guard, something that will keep you like, what the hell did he just say? Just keep yourself grounded and always expect what's going to happen. Just expect that something's going to happen that's going to caught you off guard and leave you wondering and confused and asking so many questions that your head will spin. So just keep yourself prepared for any, all, and every possibility or scenario that might happen. It'll save you a lot of time and pain and like extra brain power that to just keep yourself prepared for any. That's it.
That's it? Alright, I got you. Got you on hand. Let me pull this back really quickly so that way I can share this on hand too. So that, before we call it or so, I want to ask anybody in chat, do you guys have any questions for JourneyCraft here, if you want to ask them on hand? Any questions at all you want to guys ask them? In the meantime, while we're waiting for everybody else to come up with questions or so to be able to ask you, I have a question on hand. The name JourneyCraft, where did it come from?
It came from. I told this. I believe I told this Jeffy once. Jeffy bed. It came from a defunct Minecraft survival server back in the day. Now I wasn't part of that story. It was just happened to be named JourneyCraft.
Okay.
I had a previous like chance at YouTube. Except it was like, if you search up like JourneyCraft TV, you will meet a version of myself at like 5-6 years ago. With a crappier setup that I have now. Trying to make Minecraft videos with the naive assumption that any sort of content that I can do is going to get me very far. Let's just say that failed spectacularly.
No, I got you.
Like, when you do like 6 straight videos about skyblock survival, you're getting pretty damn low in terms of content.
No, I understand.
So that's basically where it comes from. So the only deviation from the name was when I had to make my Twitter, and then JourneyCraft was already taken, so it's like, oh crap, what'd I do? Oh, just switch it around. So if you're trying to search me on Twitter, for example, it's actually the opposite.
Yeah, it's the opposite of it. Yeah, that's actually true.
It's Craft Journey.
Yeah, pretty much at Craft Journey. So
yeah, I basically did a plug for myself, but I don't really care.
So I will say, Omega says no question from me, just a statement. You basically saying that, well, Journey is the best. So
that's a subjective opinion, but yeah.
Okay, that's all good. I will say this too. I have another question kind of popped in my head now. Little did I know on hand, which until you kind of surprised me and a few others, we were not aware that you were French Canadian. So I was gonna ask on hand here, how hard was it to be able to like? Because from what I've heard on hand, like learning English is like the hardest language, one of the hardest languages on hand. Here and there, but I was gonna ask, how hard was it to learn English, or best, was it just kind of like easy to quickly pick up or so on hand? Or do you actually speak French too, or am I just?
I do speak French, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Just make.
But
sure.
The thing, how it worked at the time was that I was up one night. I was probably at that point like 7 years old. No, I was earlier than that. It was like when I was like 5.
Mm-hmm.
And my father at the time was listening to like one of those like English like teaching modules like on audio cassette.
Okay.
Because his English wasn't too perfect either at the time. And I basically overheard whatever the cassette was playing. And like, I kind of picked up like basic English words at that point. It was to the point where I spoke actually more English than French when I was in the playground. And it got to the point where my teachers was getting a little worried. It's like, why are you speaking more English than French? It's a French school. And being in my mindset, I had absolutely no idea, because I had no way of explaining. Even then, it was like, they probably wouldn't have believed me.
They probably wouldn't believe you even if you explain like how it originated.
Yeah, like I guess it was more easier for me to pick up English, French, which to some people might seem absolutely bonkers, because like, well, you're French Canadian, you must be fluent in French first. No, it's basically the opposite. I was basically being more fluent in French than in English than French.
No, it's funny when you say that, because since you say, you know, you're more fluent in English than French, it's kind of funny because for some reason Omega's more fluent in French and just like somehow has like English mixed together with it or so on hand. Like even when he's like taking classes on hand, so immediately it's like, you know, two different opposites on hand now that we think about that or so. Here and there.
Yeah.
But like I said, does anybody have any questions for Journey here? If you guys want to ask him any questions on hand, any questions at all? But yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But go ahead. Sorry about that.
I'm going to assume that things have been pretty clear, or I assume two things are pretty clear, because like no one's like asking anything.
Well, let me put it this way.
I think we've covered everything.
Yeah, I think we might have covered everything, but I do have one question, and this is kind of opinion for you. How the hell do you put up with us? With the chaotic energy of me, Chaotic, Langle, Omega, Rosie, Nate, pretty much Earth, you know, all of us together. How do you put up with us?
I'm going to put up as like a tolerance thing. Like that.
Because
when it's like whenever Nate says something stupid, whenever Omega like flouts on, whenever Chaotic like does anything like that seems a little bit weird. That's whenever Langle's like either
being Langle,
oohing on chat, caps lock all over the place. Whenever Earth is like Earth, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I don't need to explain. Just like
no, you're fine. You don't have to explain on hand. It's just I was just more wondering how were you able to put up with us? Because keep in mind, all of us together are basically like this chaotic, like, meme shit posters all together to where basically, again, it is no joke when I say this on hand. Like, when midnight hits, that's when basically we do nothing but dick jokes and puns. Or basically just like, it's because we're at like our most tired on hand that basically we just do like anything that we find funny for us.
Pretty much. That's when, most of the times, brain cells just out of the bloody window, and is that we just make stuff up as we go along.
Yeah, we basically, if you think about it, that's where our whole like improvised like strength comes from, where we just make up things as we go along, and basically that's what the strength of it is, because that's where it comes from, especially in like Mythic Guild or so, where basically we're able to run it by just doing that. Basically, have a story mode.
Yeah, especially that.
Have a story idea, know where it gotta go, and just improvise along the way.
Yeah, so again, it's like, it's more of a tolerance, and it's like, oh, there goes that person again.
I would
it's not that you expect it, it's just like, whenever it happens, it's like, oh, there they go again.
Yeah, there we go again. How much you want to bet that we could probably give a, what was the thing we saw at VRCon, where basically it was like a comedy improv, like, not roleplay, but basically it was like a comedy improv thing. It was kind of like some sort of Broadway thing, but basically they had this like every Saturday on this specific time or so, or like, you know, practices on Sundays or so. How much you want to bet that if we have our whole crew together or so, we could probably do like a small skit on hand where basically we just come up with stuff on the spot? Like, whose line is it anyway kind of style or so. Like, if we ever just basically came across these people, we just basically say, here, let me show you what chaotic energy looks like.
Yeah, we could do that easily, I guess.
Yeah, we do that without even trying.
Have to, like, sometimes we even out any blocks, we just, make up scenarios and situations on the fly. So that, and we just make up the props without having them on the spot.
Yeah. Trust me, again, it's one of those things that's like, you know, you do things, but at the same time, you know for a fact everybody that you can relate to can handle it compared to everybody else outside of that who will probably be wondering what the hell's wrong with us. So.
That's probably the majority of people.
That's the majority of people.
To be quite honest. Yes.
Yeah. Definitely on hand here. So, but I don't see any other questions on hand, so I will say this. That will be episode 54 of Shoot the Breeze.